Hi, I'm Sophie Stephenson. I'm a PhD student at the University of Wisconsin, and I'm going to discuss our study of sharenting on TikTok. Sharenting, which combines the words sharing and parenting, is the practice of sharing about one's child on social media. Here I've shown an example of sharenting, which is a photo of me and my parents at my high school graduation that my mom posted on Instagram some years ago. That is sharenting. Sharenting is incredibly common. One study indicated that over 80% of US parents had sharented, and there are many reasons to do so. People share it to express love, share memories, find support if they are struggling, and share advice. However, sharenting can also create unintended consequences for the child. The information shared can enable adversaries to get close to a child offline. The child could be harassed online, or content about them could be misused by adversaries such as predators. Sharenting could also unintentionally violate the child's privacy. Prior work has taught us a lot about these benefits and drawbacks on multiple platforms, but one topic that is understudied is sharenting on TikTok. Anecdotal evidence has shown that parents are increasingly sharenting on TikTok, and some are even able to make a living by sharenting on the platform. Sharenting on TikTok deserves special attention because its affordances may present new privacy and security risks by allowing parents to share detailed videos with large audiences, often in an informal and intimate style. This may explain why some parents on TikTok are choosing to move towards more privacy-preserving sharenting behaviors. In this study, we aimed to understand sharenting on TikTok. First, we wanted to understand in what ways sharenting happens on TikTok. And second, we wanted to get a sense of the discourse on TikTok about sharenting, which can tell us more about sharenting norms on the platform. In the rest of this talk, I'll go over our research method, and then I'll discuss the results for each research question. Our method for this study was qualitative analysis of many TikTok posts. We first defined 6 search terms based on our research questions and an initial about week-long exploration of sharenting-related TikTok content. Then we used TikTok's interface on the web to manually search for each search term. Yes, manually. We collected a total of 1,461 videos this way. We then combed through all the videos to find relevant ones and identified 308 examples of sharenting and 409 videos which contributed to sharenting discourse. Some of these also linked to other relevant videos, so we also collected any linked videos that were relevant, which added 20 sharenting and 29 discourse videos. This left us with 328 sharenting videos and 438 discourse videos in total, which we qualitatively analyzed. I won't go into details now about our analysis, so please see our paper for more information about the analysis process. To give you a sense of the dataset, the videos were posted as early as September 2019 all the way to June 2023 when we collected the videos. 300 creators were represented in the sharenting dataset with a max of 7 videos posted by each creator, so it was pretty evenly spread. The discourse dataset was more skewed, with up to 95 videos posted by a single creator. This indicated to us that the discourse was being spearheaded by a few prolific, usually anti-sharenting creators. The sharenting dataset got a lot of interaction on average, with around 1.3 million likes, 9,000 comments, and 87,000 saves per video. The discourse dataset was less popular, unsurprisingly, with only 41,000 likes, 600 comments, and 1,700 saves per video. The sharenting videos were around 37 seconds long, compared to 55 seconds for the discourse videos. All right, let's dive into the results. We learned a lot about sharenting behaviors on TikTok. The 3 most common categories of sharenting videos we found were comedy videos. For example, this artist rendering by Akira Ohiso shows a video of a child holding a squirrel. Parenting videos was another common one. This example shows a parenting education video where the creator films a parenting moment and describes how they handled it. And trends and challenges was the third kind we saw. This example image shows a Meet the Family challenge where parents introduce their children and their children's ages. There were more types of videos, but these were the most common that we saw. Over half of the videos shared information about a child. A quarter of the videos gave information about the child's family, like the number of siblings they have and their names. 22% of videos shared identifying information or medical information, and another 22% shared misbehavior or tantrums. 7% discussed a child's accomplishments. And 6% of videos discussed what we labeled as sensitive topics, included menstruation, bathroom-related topics, trauma, and other really intimate matters. On the other hand, children were visible in nearly every video in our dataset, 92%. Children appeared in a variety of ways. 3/4 of videos showed a children's face. 86% of videos showed a child's body, at least partly. And a child's voice could be heard in 1/4 of the videos. Interestingly, in a small number of videos, creators intentionally obscured their child's face with emojis or physical objects, which indicates intentional privacy-preserving behavior and matches some of the norms that I'll talk about later. On the other hand, 10% of videos showed a child visibly in distress or crying, and 3% of videos showed a child who was partially nude, usually wearing only a diaper or a swimsuit. It's also interesting to consider the role children play in these videos, in addition to the information shared about them. In over 80% of the videos, children play a starring or co-starring role in the video. However, despite their prominence in the video, children weren't usually active participants. By that we mean that children appeared to be aware that they were in a video and actively taking part, for example, by participating in a skit where they needed to know lines beforehand. Children were only active participants in 17% of the videos, by our estimation. The rest of the time, they appeared to have been filmed just doing their everyday activities. And finally, consent almost never came up in the dataset. We acknowledge that a parent may have gotten the consent of the child to post the video, even if they don't mention it in the video or the caption. However, it was striking to see that only 5 videos confirmed that the child consented to the video being posted, meaning either the parent or the child themselves confirmed that that consent was given. Even worse, in 5 videos, the parent actively violated a child's consent, for example, by showing a child who was begging not to be filmed. This takes me to the second research question we had, which looked at how creators on TikTok discuss sharenting and some of the norms that they hold for sharenting. Creators brought up a large number of concerns about sharenting. Almost every video in our dataset was anti-sharenting, though there are some pro-sharenting ideas that you can see in the paper. But the first type of consequence that people brought up was online consequences. They worried that content could be misused by adversaries, especially predators, and especially for content involving young girls. They noted that content could create a semi-permanent digital footprint, which could follow the child through adulthood, even if they don't want it to. They also worried about the audience, which could either harass a child or could become too attached or too fond of a child. Creators also discussed offline consequences of sharenting. Primarily, but they brought up lots of potential mental health impacts, including bullying, impacts on the child's relationship with their parents, if the parents are too focused on posting, and developing an attachment to social media. Creators also mentioned that sharing identifiable and private information could threaten a child's safety and could lead to identity theft and associated financial impacts. And finally, creators were concerned about sharenting on principle. A large number of videos spoke out against what they saw as exploitative forms of sharenting, where parents share frequent, intimate posts with the goal of gaining money and fame. Some referred to this as the kids are not content movement. Additionally, creators argued that sharenting could violate a child's right to privacy, and they worried that many children are not old enough to give informed consent to sharenting, though creators did not specify when they thought children could give informed consent. In tandem with these concerns, creators also expressed which forms of sharenting they found acceptable and unacceptable. Creators believed that parents shouldn't share sensitive topics, medical information, identifying information, or anything about negative experiences a child has faced. On the other hand, some thought it was okay to share a child's name, even though others would argue this is identifying, inconsequential details, and things about the parents' lives. For visible presence of children, creators were highly focused on the face, Many argued that showing a child's face is not okay, while some came from the other direction and said that sharenting is fine as long as the child's face is obscured. It was also argued that sharenting shouldn't show nudity or a child who is visibly in distress, but that it is okay to include a child's voice in the audio. There were also norms about how sharenting occurs. Creators talked about sharenting on public platforms, and particularly on TikTok and YouTube, as problematic, but they believed that private sharing and sharing directly on Facebook and Instagram was more acceptable. Finally, there was broad consensus that frequent influencer-style sharenting was not acceptable, and creators also discouraged sharenting without the child's consent or without the parent's consent if the poster is a different caregiver, like a grandparent. In contrast, infrequent sharenting was seen as more acceptable, as was sharenting that focused on positive and fun content only. Based on these results, we propose several future directions. First, we encourage researchers to continue studying sharenting from multiple perspectives. For example, because informed consent is such a widely held concern, studies should ask different stakeholders when they believe children can give informed consent to be shared. We also encourage others to leverage TikTok as a rich source of qualitative data, especially for studies of internet discourse. We also identified several norms for sharenting, which appear to be stable across many social media platforms, and we argue that platforms should support these cross-platform norms through their designs and policies. For example, platforms could offer easy-to-use filters for blurring a child's face. Policies should also be updated on these platforms. For example, TikTok has policies against content that endangers children and content posted by young children, but no policies which mention sharenting. And finally, we should push for legislation to protect children's privacy. The two most relevant laws at the moment are state laws in Washington and Illinois, which mandate compensation for children of for-profit sharenting. This is similar to laws which protect child actors. But there is a need for policy which prevents riskier and more privacy-violating forms of sharenting before they begin. For instance, laws could prevent parents from posting children who are actively dissenting to the content, or could allow children to request that sharenting content be removed later on if they desire. If you'd like to read the paper, please use the QR code to access the full PDF. Thank you very much for listening.